Good morning. I've had several requests to run through what type of gear I'm using to take offshore and fish in this deep water. So I opted to run through the whole process from the rod, the reel, the line, the fluorocarbon, the jigs, the assist hooks, the split rings, the O-rings, and the whole setup. The Fishing Public Channel is all about showing local fishermen and fishermen from all over what is possible here on the Gulf Coast. We fish out of Dauphin Island, Alabama. Haven't been able to fish for 8 weeks. Had a couple of days in there that the weather was somewhat conducive, but I'm kind of a fair weather fisherman. I don't want to go get beat up, and I'm just going to wait for a good day and capitalize on it. And you can see that from the videos. But let's go ahead and get started. The rod of choice is a Goo Fish Rod. Goo Fish right now has, I think, a micro jigging rod and then 3 other rods that's available. They go from lighter weight to a little bit heavier weight. So this is the matte black. It's got a PE rating of 2 to 4, jig weight of 120 to 250. I'd call this kind of a medium action rod. Really great for fishing 200, 300 foot, which is what we do 90% of the time. And my jig weights are typically from 7 ounces to 10 ounces. But we're going to talk grams because that's kind of how all these jigs are weighed. So from 190 gram to a 300 gram jig is typically what we use. And this particular rod is ideal for a 200 gram jig. The reel is the Maxell transformer. It's the F40 Ch. Ergonomically, it's unbelievable. I mean, it fits right in the palm of your hand. You can get so much leverage on this rod between the handle and the grip on this reel that you really can control the rod and consequently control the fish. It's truly amazing. I can really crank down, and it has a tremendous amount of drag for such a small compact reel. Super impressed. I fished Accurates for the last 10 years, and I went to Maxell a year ago, and the Maxell just seems to be more, it's just a smoother feeling reel. Nothing against Accurate. I just like the feel of these Maxell reels over the Accurate reels. And I'll show you some Accurate reels here shortly that we fish with. It's a little bit heavier setup, a much heavier, beefier reel. But hey guys, this reel weighs 1.5 pounds. 1.5 pounds. Fish all day with this reel. I also purchased the Goo Fish Mighty. This is their jig weight of 150 to 400 grams, PE of 4 to 6. Much stiffer tip, but it can handle 300 to 400 gram jig, which is, that's 11 to 13 ounces. And we're fishing for big fish. I mean, 20 plus pound snapper and 20 plus pound grouper are really common. When you're fishing all day, you got 4 or 5 fishermen on the boat. You're going to experience several of those fish in that weight category. Not to mention 40 pound amberjack, or 150 pound sharks. So this rod can handle it. This is a transformer F40 Ch. Slightly bigger than the F30, but still ergonomically unbelievable. I actually like the F40 more than the F30 personally. It's just a little bigger. I like the way I can hold it in my hand a little better. And I love the drag and the power you can put, the pressure you can put on these fish with this reel is unbelievable. And you're going to see some of that in the video if you haven't already. I literally, it doesn't look like I'm using a lot of effort, but I'm literally just cranking these fish without having to pull up and reel down. I'm really just cranking them in. And both these reels are 6 to 1, which means in one rotation of this reel handle, I'm pulling in 40 inches of line. So you think 300 foot deep is, man, how do you want to fish in that deep water? Well, when you have a 6-to-1 reel ratio, 300 feet doesn't feel too bad. And it never feels bad when you're reeling a fish up. So I go to where the fish are, whether it's 200 foot or 300 foot or 100 foot. So this combination has done tremendously well. I put a heavier jig on here, 8-ounce diamond jig I'll put on here, 300 gram flat back from Johnny Jigs. I'll put that jig on here. But to say you can't fish a lighter jig, you certainly can. It's just these slow pitch rods, the effectiveness is in the bend, and a heavier rod doesn't have quite as much bend, so you don't get the whipping action. When you let that jig down and you raise up a high raise, you want that you want the jig to take and really load the rod tip so it whips it back up in the air and it'll flutter better. Obviously, the heavier the jig, the heavier the rod, you get the same effect. I'll get the same effect with a 300 gram jig on this rod as I will a 200 gram jig on that rod. That's the purpose by having multiple setups. Because believe it or not, if I put a 300 gram jig on that light rod, well, now it's overpowered. It can't whip it up. It's too heavy for that tip action. Consequently, I put a 200 gram jig on this rod, the rod hardly loads. You get very minimal action. So it's important to understand that and fish a jig weight that's comparable to the rod if you want the kind of action that's going to yield strikes consistently. And I know what I'm saying is true because I have fished beside many guys that weren't set up properly, and I'm out catching them 4-to-1. Rod choice and gram weight are super important. I mean, I just can't tell you how important it is. All right, so we're going to move on to the jig. Bridgeport 10-ounce diamond jig is my go-to jig. And I buy these jigs in bulk. And I just got my March order, and every March I'll order 200. Because I get a better price from Tackle Direct, and there they are in the box. Bridgeport diamond jig. This is a staple in my tackle box for the last 10 years. Now, of course, I was fishing it with a heavier setup. And I'm going to grab that heavier setup just so you can see it, because I still use it. I mean, I love slow pitch jigging, but I'm not going to get away from historic performances. So this is a Maxell Rage 60H. Much bigger, beefier reel. You can just see it. This reel is really heavy duty. It's on a Razor Senate 5-foot 3-inch rod. The Goo Fish are 6'6". Much shorter rod, don't need the tip action because I'm fishing a 10-ounce heavy jig with 60-pound fluorocarbon Seagar and 60-pound hollow core Jerry Brown. The reason I use hollow core is so I can create a natural loop to connect my serve to, so I have no knots in my line. This is a really heavy, stiff setup. Here are the jigs I'm using. I've already showed you one Johnny jig, the flat back. Excellent. 300 gram, 190 gram. They have what's called a Super Glow 220 gram jig. It also fits the Maxell. It's called the Maxell Bumblebee. It's got the glow stripes on it. I love the shape. It gets down very quickly. Has a great fall action. Here are a few of them rigged up with the assist hooks that I made. And the bottom assist hooks I purchased at a boat show 3 or 4 years ago that I finally found an application for. It's micro cord, and that's a Gamakatsu single hook 510 4-roll. I buy them in 25 packs because if you were to buy these assist hooks individually, they're very expensive. And quite frankly, if you fish a lot, you're going to go through jigs and hooks. I mean, you really are. And I use a barrel swivel with all of the jigs. I originally wasn't a fan of that thought process, truthfully. I thought it was just too much going on. but the fish comes up spinning in a circle. It definitely helps prevent your line from kinking up. My favorite jig is this Daiwa Saltiga 250 gram zebra orange stripe. I call this Little Nemo. Little Nemo has been the most effective jig I've used in this slow pitch scenario so far. It's yielded some 20+ pound grouper. You can buy this gear from Tackle Direct, but as of late they're out of stock in terms of the reels and the jigs. So you just got to get on the waiting list. If you want the Maxell reels, the only place I found them is at Gigabytes, and it's a company located in the United Kingdom, actually. Very great customer service. Couldn't be happier. I have 2 reels now with a 3rd on its way. The gentleman that owns it, his name is Terry. Great guy. So, and I've caught everywhere else in the country. There's not a place in the United States you can get an F30 or an F40 transformer right now. Now, that may change next week, but as of today, you can't get them. So Gigabytes is where I would go. Now Goo Fish, that's a Chinese company. You can just order that. It'll be here in 4 or 5 days. Those guys are excellent. All right, that wraps up the video. I hope you found that to be very useful. Please leave comments, ask any questions. I will respond pretty quickly. Trying to get back out on the water. Hope to see you soon.